Revealed, the sinister rules I discovered in a haunted California motel room. A cursed stay. Jenna pushed the motel door open, and a chill raced down her spine. It felt wrong, like stepping into a nightmare. The walls were peeling, shadows clung to corners as if they had roots. Shadow pines, the sign flickered outside, barely hanging on, just like her will to keep going. She could smell dampness, mixed with something else, something rotten. She shook it off. All she needed was a night's rest after her grueling 12-hour shift. Mia, her 7-year-old daughter, came trotting behind, eyes wide as she took in the desolate surroundings. "Mommy, it's spooky," she whispered. Jenna laughed nervously, but a knot twisted in her stomach. What kind of place was this? The clerk, Carl, was friendly, but his eyes, God, they felt empty, like two black holes. As he handed her the room key, a shiver ran through her. She caught snippets of whispered conversations from the few patrons lingering in the lobby. Words floated to her like leaves in the wind: haunted, cursed, never checked out. "Room 2, Carl said, his grin uncanny. "You'll be fine, safe here." Those words settled like lead in her stomach. Jenna led Mia down the dim corridor, flickering lights overhead buzzing like angry wasps. The door creaked as she pushed it open. Inside was a movie scene of decay: dim, stained carpet, walls that felt as if they breathed, and the slight chill that made her shiver. She tucked Mia into bed, chasing away whispers of fear that danced in her mind, but as she turned to the nightstand, her heart hammered like a drum. Etched into the wood were lines of text, sinister rules that seemed to pulse with energy. "Do not answer the door after dark," it read. "Beware the shadows." "Just a sick joke," she murmured. She tucked Mia in with a smile that felt like a mask. But fear tugged at her heart, whispering warnings that sounded louder than the buzz of fluorescent light. Night fell deeper, draping over the motel. Whispers seeped through walls, laced with a dread that wrapped around her. Suddenly, the phone rang sharp and jagged. Jenna, cold sweat slicking her palms, picked it up, expecting something official, perhaps a wrong number. Instead, heavy breathing invaded her ear. Panic surged. She glanced at Mia, still sleeping, blissfully unaware of the growing darkness. Fighting the urge to flee, Jenna shoved her ear against the door, heart racing. There it was again, a laugh, low and sinister. Her pulse quickened. They weren't just being haunted, they were being hunted. Jenna's mind spun, recalling stories of families that vanished in motels just like this, lost in the shadows, never to be seen again. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Jenna banged on the door, but it wouldn't budge. The laughter echoed, wrapping around them like a noose. The shadows pressed closer, coiling with malicious intent. "Please, we have to get out," she whispered as fear ignited in her chest. The room felt smaller, suffocating, the walls closing in. Mia stirred, sensing her mother's terror. Clutching her tightly, Jenna took a deep breath. They weren't alone. The night was alive with sinister intent. And as the shadows crept in, Jenna faced a choice. Confront the terror or be swallowed by it. Her heart thundered as the laughter erupted again, explosive and echoing. Time was running out. Would they become the next names whispered in warning to weary travelers, or could she escape this twisted nightmare? The night was just beginning. The laughter grew louder, a grating sound that pierced through the tiny room, making Jenna's skin crawl. It felt like it was coming from all directions, echoing off the warped walls and swirling in the grimy air. She pressed her back against the door, willing it to hold, willing whatever was on the other side to stay away. "Mama, I'm scared," Mia murmured, her voice a delicate tremor that sent a fresh wave of panic crashing over Jenna. She wrapped her arms around her daughter, clutching her tightly, trying to drown out the nightmare surrounding them. "Shoo, it's okay, sweetheart. Just stay close to me," Jenna whispered, forcing a calmness she didn't feel. The shadows in the corners appeared to twitch, inching towards them like dark fingers eager to snatch them away. Jenna could feel it, the air thick with malice, the oppressive weight of unseen eyes watching their every move. Suddenly, a soft knock echoed against the door, breaking the tension like glass shattering. Jenna's heart raced as she stiffened, eyes darting to Mia, who looked up at her, wide-eyed and trembling. "Mommy, who is it?" "I don't know," Jenna breathed, panic bubbling to the surface. "We don't open the door, remember?" The knocking persisted. "Just let me in. Please." The voice was a jagged whisper that sent shivers down Jenna's spine, familiar yet foreign. "I can help you." "Who are you?" Jenna shouted, desperation leaking into her tone, but the only reply was silence, heavy and suffocating. "Mama, I want to go home," Mia whimpered, burying her face into her mother's shoulder. The weight of her daughter's fear crushed Jenna. Each heartbeat felt like a drumroll toward inevitable doom. Then, in the silence that followed, the phone rang again, shrill and unrelenting. It was as if the room was mocking her. She hesitated but then broke away from the door, urgency pushing her to answer. With shaky fingers, she picked up the receiver. "Hello?" Jenna, the voice was low and cracked, tinged with unnatural glee. "I have something for you, what do you want?" She whispered, the dread curling tight in her stomach. "Just a little bit of time," it laughed again, that sinister sound, "you should have listened to the rules." She slammed the receiver down and turned toward the shadowy space behind her. "We need to find a way out," she whispered fiercely, a desperate plan igniting in her mind. She grabbed Mia's hand, but the child still clung to her, eyes wide and filled with terror. "Mama, what if the shadows come for us?" "Then we fight," Jenna replied, even as her heart quaked at the thought. "We have to find the windows. There must be a way." As they moved toward the end of the room, the lights flickered violently, casting grotesque shapes on the walls. Each blink of darkness felt like a countdown, a reminder that the room, and what dwelled within it, was alive. Jenna's breath quickened as she pulled Mia along, listening for any signs of pursuit. "Keep quiet," she hushed, but the walls seemed to breathe, whispering secrets that curled around them. Shadows shifted, creeping closer, tendrils stretching toward them in a dance of menace. "Mama, look." Mia pointed, voice trembling. Just beyond the curtain, Jenna glimpsed something. The darkness shifted, forming into an outline, a figure standing still, watching. A chill gripped her as dread unfurled within her. Breath caught in her throat, she yanked the curtain back with a quick motion, a frail part of her hoping it was just her imagination. But what lay beyond the glass shattered that hope. An endless night stared back at her, void and malicious, and in it stood countless shadowy forms, eyes glistening like stars but devoid of warmth, watching, waiting. "Mama?" Mia tugged at her arm, but Jenna was frozen, caught between terror and disbelief. They were surrounded. Suddenly, the figure outside moved, pressing against the glass, face blurred, mouth twisting into a gaping grin. It started to laugh, and in an instant, realization washed over Jenna. She had no idea what lay ahead in the darkness, but whatever it was coming for them. Fight or flight? She thought. And at that moment, all she felt was dread, thick and heavy, as the caged terror of their night grew claws and teeth. As another knock sounded at the door, this one more urgent, she knew one thing for sure: whatever you do, never open the door in the dark. Would they escape the sinister embrace of the motel? Or join the countless souls already trapped? The choice loomed over them like a cloud ready to burst. Jenna's heart thundered in her chest, each beat a reminder of the crushing terror closing in around them. The blurred figure outside continued to grin, a chilling mockery that twisted her insides into knots. She gripped Mia's hand tighter, a surge of bravery pushing her forward. "We can't stay here," she whispered fiercely, searching for an escape route. "Mama, I'm scared." Mia's voice trembled, grounding Jenna as shadows danced closer, their form becoming more defined with each passing second, like tendrils of smoke reaching out with sinister intent. The knock came again, louder this time, an insistent reminder of the dark urgency that suffocated them. The rattling doorknob invited Jenna's gaze, it turned slowly, ominously. A fresh wave of terror washed over her as she yanked Mia back toward the window, fear coursing through her like ice water. There had to be hope beyond the horror, a way to escape the madness. "Come on," Jenna urged, trying to keep her voice steady. "We have to climb out." She pulled back the heavy curtain, revealing a small, grimy window that seemed almost to mock her desperation with its filthy panes. "Will it let us out?" Mia asked, her wide eyes glistening with tears. "I don't know, but it's better than waiting here," Jenna replied, her mind racing. She began to pry the window open, the rusted hinges protested with a screech that seemed to echo through the empty room. She bit her lip in frustration, the cacophony of laughter outside blending with the muffled cries of her daughter, urging her to hurry. "Open, damn it!" she grunted, jerking at the window. The air inside the room thickened, almost tangible in its aura of despair. With one final push, the window scraped open, and a stale wind rushed in, swirling around them like a sinister embrace. "Mama!" Mia whimpered, edging closer to the shadows that loomed behind. "Get ready to climb, sweetie," Jenna whispered, steeling herself against the face of fear. She propped Mia up on the wintry sill, glancing back over her shoulder. The figure outside had receded, shadows dissolving into the abyss, but that only made her more uneasy. "What if it comes back?" Mia whispered, her voice barely audible above the chaos of Jenna's thoughts. "It won't. We just have to move fast," Jenna lied to reassure them both, convincing herself that fighting back meant clarity. Taking a deep breath, she pushed her daughter out, squeezing Mia's small frame through the opening. "Mama!" Mia cried as she dangled there in the gathering darkness. "It's too high. Just hold on." Jenna scrambled up to join her, the cold metal of the window frame biting into her palms as she boosted herself. Outside, the night was thick and choking, devoid of any comfort. She gripped Mia's waist tightly as they landed on the uneven ground below, both gasping as they steadied themselves. But as they stumbled out under the sickly yellow glow of a flickering streetlight, the laughter returned, louder and more sinister, echoing in the empty parking lot. Each step away from the motel felt like moving closer to salvation, yet the echoes taunted them, a reminder of the horrors left behind. "Keep moving," Jenna urged, dragging Mia into the unforgiving night. The laughter twisted into a cacophony of whispers, wrapping around them like barbed wire. "We need to find someone." But they were alone in a desolate landscape painted with the shadows of forgotten souls. As they crested a small hill, Jenna paused, her breath shallow as she surveyed the emptiness ahead. "Where are we?" she muttered, panic creeping back in. "What was that?" Mia's voice quivered, clutching her mother with a fierce grip. They both turned, feeling the ground pulse beneath their feet, alive with dread. The fog thickened, smothering them like a shroud. An unearthly howl shattered the silence, echoing in the dark, and for a fleeting moment, Jenna felt as if the very earth was closing in around them, as if the darkness itself held a hunger for them. "Mama!" Mia's eyes were wide with terror as she pointed towards the shadows creeping toward them. The figures took shape, eyes glittering with malicious delight. "We have to run!" Jenna screamed, instinct overpowering her fear. They turned to flee, but the laughter filled every corner, every crevice of the night, promising that they might never escape. What awaited them in the looming darkness? Would they find aid, or were they merely chasing a phantom of hope in a nightmare that would never let them go? With hearts racing and breathless in their flight, the night swallowed them whole, leaving only the echoes of their desperate struggle behind. The shadows loomed closer now, stretching like dark fingers eager to grasp Jenna and Mia. Each step they took felt heavier, as if the ground was trying to pull them back, feeding off their fear. Laughter danced around them, an insidious soundtrack to their escape. "Where do we go?" Mia managed to gasp, drawing closer to her mother, her tiny body trembling against the cool night air. Just keep moving," Jenna urged, her voice strained as they stumbled through the fog. They had to get to the road, but the thick mist obscured everything. It felt like the world was swallowing them whole. A flicker of movement caught Jenna's eye, something shifting just out of reach. She stopped, feeling a cold sweat prickling her skin, and peered into the swirling darkness. "Stay close," she ordered, her voice quaking. "Mama, I see something," Mia squealed, pointing a trembling finger toward something looming in the fog. It looked like a figure, tall and thin, standing eerily still. Jenna's heart raced as she gripped Mia tighter. "We need to go," she hissed, every instinct screaming at her to not draw attention. But the figure didn't move, it seemed to have eyes dark and hungry that pierced through the night. "Mama!" Mia squeezed her hand, feeling the pressure of the unseen eyes. Jenna turned, pulling her daughter away from the sight. "Run!" Their feet barely touched the ground as they charged ahead, trying to drown out the whispers that chased them, weaving through the air like a curse. "Look, we can hide there." Mia pointed desperately to a crumbling shed that loomed up ahead. It was a low, rotting structure, part of some forgotten dwelling. With no other choice, Jenna nodded, dragging Mia along as they reached the door. Pushing it open, Jenna hurried them inside, the space musty and dark. She pulled Mia in, shutting the door just as the laughter erupted again, louder now, more mocking. Inside, the darkness wrapped around them, a prison of shadows. "Stay quiet," Jenna whispered, holding her breath, straining to hear. The laughter faded into the distance, but so did the sense of safety. "Why are they laughing?" Mia's voice wobbled in the dark, a child's innocent confusion mingling with rising terror. "I don't know," Jenna breathed, trying to soothe her. "But we need to stay hidden." Minutes passed, nausea twisting in Jenna's stomach as time stretched, yet outside, the whispers transformed into soft, sinister calls, as if inviting them out to play. Each creak of the shed felt like an unwelcome heartbeat, throbbing in time with their fear. "Mama, I'm cold." Mia curled against her, warm breath mixing with Jenna's, both of them trying to steal warmth from the other. "Just a little longer," Jenna whispered. But the sensation of being watched crawled along her spine. She felt it, something hard and unyielding, like a gaze resting on them from beyond the walls. Suddenly, a loud crash shook the shed, and the door banged against the wall, flung open by some unseen force. Light spilled in behind the fragmented doorway, illuminating the dust motes that hung eerily in the air. "Quick!" Jenna shouted, dragging Mia to the far end of the shed, their hearts pounding in synchrony with imminent dread. They crouched as low as they could, clutching each other in desperation. Silhouettes moved in the doorway, casting elongated shadows. "Are you scared?" A voice teased, impossibly cheerful, chillingly familiar. Jenna's heart plummeted. It was as if the darkness had an intellect, had crafted these invitations to torment them. "Maybe we should just go out," came another voice, sickeningly sweet. Seeming to echo from all around, the laughter roared back, closing in on them like a vice. "Mama, please," Mia whimpered, squeezing Jenna's hand tighter. And that's when Jenna realized the figures had split into two, circling around them like hungry wolves. They were playing a twisted game, and the rules were not on her side. "Let us play hide and seek," one whispered, and Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The stakes were clear, they had to find a way out, but the door was now a dark maw calling them home. As the figures began to move closer, Jenna steeled herself with primal terror. "Mia, on my count, we run back to the window," she commanded, desperation turning her voice fierce. But just as she was about to shout, the shadows danced around them in an unsettling rhythm, and suddenly an intense silence fell, pregnant with an unseen threat, turning the air electric. What if the game had changed? What if they weren't just players anymore? The night around them thickened, and Jenna's mind reeled. What sinister game were they truly trapped in? As dread washed over her, she felt the weight of their eyes upon her. Closure was slipping further away. 3, 2, 1. Before she could utter the final word, a pulse of blinding light erupted, revealing the figures at last. Their faces were twisted in malice, and what once was mere laughter now transformed into the chilling sound of a hunt beginning. As the figures lunged, Jenna's scream was lost in the chaos, engulfed by the rising tide of darkness. What did they really want? And would Jenna and Mia ever escape the grip of their terrifying game? The blinding light flickered and faded, casting them back into the enveloping darkness. Jenna's heart thundered in her chest, and the air hung thick with dread. The laughter morphed into a cacophony of mocking jeers, echoing through the shed, vibrating against the walls. "Run!" she shouted, her voice raw and laden with terror. Mia clung to her hand, eyes wide and glassy as they darted toward the window. They were forced against the wall, shadows slithering toward them like oil. Each figure loomed tall, elongated, twisting in unnatural ways, their hollow eyes gleaming with predatory hunger. They moved faster than Jenna could grasp, one of the figures lunging forward as if pulled by an invisible string. "Found you!" it hissed, the voice dripping with childlike glee, poised to shatter their hope. "No!" Jenna screamed, pulling Mia around her, shielding her as they stumbled back towards the broken window. Glass glinted menacingly, a jagged smile through which escape seemed possible. But just as they neared, the shadows reformed, blocking their path. "Why don't you come play with us?" one taunted, its grin widening, eyes dancing in delight. The realization sank deep. This was not mere chaos, this was a ritual, an unholy gathering intent on bringing them closer into the fold. "Mama!" Mia cried, her voice barely a whisper now. The cold fingers of fear squeezed Jenna's heart. She could almost taste the desperation thickening in the air. "Keep moving, baby," Jenna encouraged, her voice a trembling reed in the storm. They spun around, eyes searching desperately for another escape. A dim sliver of light seeped through a crack in the wall, painting a thin pathway. The laughter from behind grew louder, each echo dripping with anticipation. Jenna scanned the area, there had to be a way out. "Mama, what if they catch us?" Mia's question hung heavy, and Jenna's pulse quickened. They broke into a run, darting toward the far wall, but the shadows shifted, stretching like greedy fingers to snatch them back. Just as they reached the light, a figure lashed out, claw-like hands mere inches from their backs. "Mama, please!" The sound of Mia's terrified plea sliced through Jenna, pushing her into action. In that frantic moment, she hurled herself and Mia through the narrow sliver of light, gasping, desperate, fighting against the eager grasp of darkness. They tumbled through a suffocating haze, crashing hard onto the cold, damp earth outside. Jenna felt a jarring pain shoot through her side as she landed. Scrambling to her feet, she pulled Mia along, the urgency of escape fueling every frantic step. The fog here was thinner, but it wove around them like living tendrils. Jenna dared a glance back. The shed stood eerily alone, shadows swirling hungrily around it, retreating at their flight. But they had escaped that prison, for now. "Look, Mama!" Mia pointed toward the distant glow of lights flickering through the fog. "People. Maybe they can help us." Jenna felt a flicker of hope, despite the fear gnawing at her insides. But instinct screamed that it wasn't safe, not yet. "Wait!" she hissed, stopping Mia before she tore off towards the light. "We have to be careful. We don't know what's waiting for us there." Mia's tiny hands gripped her tightly. Jenna surveyed the area. The laughter had dulled, but she could still feel the sinister echoes tugging at her consciousness. Those figures weren't far behind. As they took a few cautious steps toward the faint lights, the ground beneath Jennifer's feet shifted, rumbling ominously. The laughter burst forth again, more maniacal, and an unexpected tremor gripped the earth. "Mama, I'm scared," Mia whimpered. Jenna took a deep breath, forcing strength into her voice. "Stay close. We can't let them win." Just then, an ear-splitting crack rang through the air, and the ground opened up in front of them, a swirling vortex of darkness threatening to swallow them whole. "Mama!" Mia screamed as a force tugged at them both, pulling them closer to the edge. Jenna's heart pounded. She grasped Mia tightly, their fingers interlocking tightly. What were those figures waiting for? What would they choose to do once they arrived? As the ground quaked beneath them, Jenna's thoughts spiraled into chaos. And then, before she could react, a blinding light burst forth from the widening crevice, illuminating the world around them. What lay below? Was it salvation or destruction? Jenna and Mia stood at the edge, hearts racing with fear and uncertainty, as the shadows edged closer again. Above the cacophony and chaos, a chilling whisper floated through the air. "Are you ready to play?" How far down would they have to go to find the truth? And who else was waiting in the dark? The light flickered, then disappeared, replaced by an eerie, suffocating darkness that enveloped everything. Jenna squinted into the void, her pulse pounding in her ears. She could feel Mia's trembling body pressed against hers, the whispers of shadows inching closer. Mama Mia's voice trembled, barely a whisper above the sickening laughter echoing from the edges of her perception. Each wave of sound frayed Jenna's nerves further, twisting fear around her like barbed wire. "Hold on tight," Jenna said, squeezing Mia's hand, heart racing like a drum. She blinked against the darkness. They had escaped one nightmare only to drift into another. "We need to find a way out." The ground shifted beneath them. With each tremor, the air thickened, a fog of despair clawing at their spirits. But ahead, the low glow re-emerged, flickering light like a beacon of hope. Jenna strained to focus. "Mama, people!" Mia called, her tiny fingers pointing towards the light. "Don't run!" Jenna hissed, pulling her back. Instinct submerged her hope. It felt too easy, too convenient. Shadows were still trailing them, silent, patient, hungry. Jenna took a cautious step. "We need a plan. We don't know if they're real." She scanned the landscape, heart pounding as grass crunched beneath her feet. From within the depths of the expanding void, the laughter began to rise, weaving through the trees like a hunting wolf. "Come play with us." "Mama." The panic in Mia's voice brought Jenna to her knees. "Hush now," she whispered, brushing Mia's hair back. "We need to stick together. No matter what." A rustle came from the underbrush nearby, sending chills up Jenna's spine. She turned her head quickly, the instinct to protect Mia overpowering her own fear. Whatever was lurking in those shadows was close. As the distant light flickered again, it revealed a shape moving amidst the trees. Jenna squinted, breath catching in her throat. Was it a person? "Hello?" she called, her voice trembling yet firm. At first, silence filled the air. Then the figure emerged, a man, eyes hollow, skin pale, as if he had seen too much in too little time. "You shouldn't be here," he rasped, his voice unstable. "They'll catch you." "Who?" Jenna demanded, stepping forward. "Who will catch us?" The man's gaze darted nervously behind Jenna, and she could feel the pit of dread widening in her stomach. "You've been marked. You need to run." "What do you mean marked?" The shadows behind her twisted and contorted, merging into grotesque figures. Jenna felt a cold sweat break out across her forehead. "Mia, stay close." The man's lip curled into a mocking smirk. "You can't go back," he warned, pointing towards the approaching figures. "Once they find you, there's no turning back." In a frantic bid, Jenna grabbed Mia's hand and surged toward the faint light, ignoring the man's warnings. The laughter grew louder, growing into a mocking roar, and Jenna's heart sank with each step. The figures were inching closer, stretching toward the light like flowers yearning for the sun. "Run faster!" Jenna shouted, pulling Mia along. Just then, the ground trembled again as more fissures tore through the earth. Faint whispers danced above them. Join us, Mama." Jenna turned, gripping Mia like a lifeline. They surged forward, their path illuminated again, but the unsettling laughter chilled her resolve. Would they even make it to the light? As they charged ahead, the eyes of the figures gleamed with an unsettling hunger, shadows encircling them like a living shroud. And suddenly, she felt the ground giving way beneath her. Mia let out a terrified scream. "Mama!" Jenna felt herself slipping, the light flickering in and out, chaos closing in. Before she was pulled into the void, she caught one last glimpse of that man's face twisted with terror, shouting, "You can't escape fate." Then darkness engulfed them entirely. Were they lost forever in a nightmare, or was that light more than just a trap? What awaited them in the depths below? The fall felt like an eternity. Jenna's heart raced as she clutched Mia tighter, the ground peeling away beneath them like an illusion dissolving in thin air. A twisted sense of weightlessness engulfed her before they landed with a jarring thud on damp earth. Gasping for breath, Jenna opened her eyes. The faint light above pulsed dimly, a distant star eclipsed by the thick, oppressive darkness surrounding them. She scrambled upright, her knees sinking into the cold ground. Mia was beside her, wide-eyed and trembling, the fear etched on her little face cutting through the haze of panic that clouded Jenna's mind. "Mama, where are we?" Mia whimpered, her voice small in the cavernous void. I don't know," Jenna stammered, shivering as a chill breathed through the air. She could feel the weight of unseen eyes watching them. The shadows felt hungry, licking at their ankles like a predator anticipating its prey. As she fought to reclaim her breath, Jenna squinted into the blackness, hoping to decipher their surroundings. The smell of damp earth and decay clung to her senses while an unsettling stillness wrapped around them. It felt wrong, unnatural. "Stay close," she ordered, heartbeat thundering in her ears as dread filled the pit of her stomach. There was something disorienting about the scene, as if the cave was a mirror of their darkest fears. "Do you hear that?" Mia asked, her voice rising with uncertainty. Jenna held her breath, listening. Faint, echoing whispers threaded through the darkness, words unrecognizable yet dripping with malice. They snaked around them, building in intensity, murmurs writhing like snakes. Join us, don't listen." Jenna cried, yanking Mia closer, the grip of her small hand giving her strength. The voices washed over them, rising and falling like an inescapable tide. With each repetition, the shadows seemed to pulse, hungry for their compliance. At that moment, adjacent shadows coalesced into a clearer form, a darker silhouette stepping from the edges of their dim reality. As it emerged, Jenna pressed Mia behind her protectively, heart racing. The figure wore a tattered cloak, its face obscured. But Jenna could sense malevolence radiating from it. "Turn back," it whispered, its voice a grave and unsettling drone. "You shouldn't come this way." "Why?" Jenna's defiance surprised even her. "Because they are hungry and you are marked." "What do you mean marked?" she asked, fingers tightening around Mia's hand as if it could shield them from the unknown. The figure stepped forward, revealing a glimpse of its face, pale, gaunt features, and hollow eyes that held a darkness deeper than the void itself. "Once they taste your fear, it becomes part of them. Your journey will end in service to them." Mia's grip tightened on her mother's arm, and Jenna could feel her terror mounting. "Run!" Jenna resolved, dragging Mia along as she stumbled through the oppressive darkness. They moved awkwardly, disoriented by the echoes of laughter that skittered around them, taunting and deriding. Suddenly, the ground underfoot shifted, sending them sprawling again. Jenna caught herself with one hand, while Mia tumbled into a small crevice, a dark pit that loomed like a gaping mouth. "Mama!" Mia screeched, the echo of her panic reverberating through Jenna's chest. "Hold on!" Jenna shouted. She reached for Mia's outstretched hand, but dread wrapped around her heart as her fingers brushed Mia's small wrist just as the shadows swirled over her, like a storm cloud descending. "Mama!" Mia breathed, her voice barely a whisper as darkness enveloped her completely. Jenna screamed, feeling the ground quaking beneath their feet, angry growls rising from the depths below. "Mia, no!" Then, without warning, the whispers turned into shrieks, a cacophony of rage clawing at Jenna's sanity. "Join us! Join us!" Jenna's heart pounded violently as she understood, there was no way out. But as the shadows pulled at them, she felt a flicker of something in the darkness, something more than despair. It felt like an echo of hope, a memory. What had they stumbled onto? Was it a way out, or was that flicker merely another trap? And then the void surged, swallowing the light whole as another presence loomed ever closer, whispering promises that sent shivers down her spine. Jenna's mind raced, grappling with the whispers that slithered through the darkness. As they closed in, she could almost see them, shadowy tendrils reaching for her, feeling like icy fingers grazing her skin. "Mia!" she yelled, voice cracking, desperation clawing through her. What could she do? Then she felt it, the flicker of memory igniting her instincts. She recalled the tales from her childhood, stories about lost souls and cursed places. The shadows thrived on fear, feeding off it like grotesque creatures of the night, always craving more. If she wanted to protect Mia, she had to be strong, not for her own sake, but for her daughter's Mia. "Stay with me," Jenna urged, setting her mind on the task. The shadows writhed around them, but instead of running into the suffocating dark, she turned in the opposite direction. She had to find a way out, away from the voices pulling at her, promising solace in exchange for surrender. Just then, a myriad of faint glimmers caught her eye across the expanse of the unknown. Were they candles? Or perhaps torches? Fragile lights that twinkled like stars in this unrelenting night? "Come on!" she shouted, tugging Mia towards the light with fierce determination. The shadows receded slightly as they dashed forward, emitting agitated screeches that echoed off unseen walls. "Join us!" The lies hissed, gripping her heart with icy fingers. With every step, Jenna felt a swell of dread loomed beside them, the murmurs of countless souls still trapped within the dark. She imagined them clawing at their own throats, desperate to break free, repeating the same horrifying command. But Jenna couldn't listen, not now. "Mama, I can't see." Mia gasped, pulling Jenna back to her senses. In the chaos, she hadn't noticed her daughter's small strides faltering. The dim lights were closer now, pulsating like a heartbeat, but the shadows were thickening again, and no matter how fast they ran, they felt heavy, raw energy swirling around them. "I'm here, Mia," Jenna coaxed, crouching down to meet her gaze. "We're going to be okay. Just hold my hand." Just as she grabbed Mia's small fingers, the ground beneath them shuddered violently. Dark cracks spidered across the earth, revealing a churning abyss of swirling shadows and distant screams. The flickering lights began to shatter and fade, swallowing hope with each pulse. "Mama!" Mia shrieked, her voice dissolving in the chaos. Jenna's heart plummeted as she stumbled, barely keeping her footing. "No, no, no!" she cried, resisting the pull of the darkness that seemed to wish to drag them apart. Glancing at Mia, she barely caught a glimpse of terror etched on her face, haunted eyes that made Jenna's heart twist. "Mama!" Mia screamed again, panic ringing in her sweetness. In that moment, Jenna gathered her resolve. "Listen to me," she urged. "You have to trust me. We're stronger than this. Keep hold of my hand." The shadows recoiled slightly with her declaration, their whispers rising to fever pitch. For a haunting moment, Jenna felt uncertainty prick at her courage. What if Mia couldn't hold on? Mama, Mia whimpered again, her grip less steady now as the shadows encroached. But Jenna wouldn't let fear own her. I will fight for you. Together, we can get through this. She pulled Mia closer, feeling the warmth of her child's body against the cold terror surrounding them. They were stronger together, that thought was like a flame within the darkness. With a primal roar, Jenna surged forward, dragging Mia along, pushing against the pull of shadows eager to consume them both. As they rushed toward the dwindling light, the void behind seemed to wail, a haunting cry that tore through Jenna's chest. Suddenly, one last flare of energy surged before them and an ancient archway appeared, illuminated with an eerie glow. Go! Jenna ordered, fear-drenched gravel coating her throat. But as they stumbled toward the archway, folds of shadow twisted around them like a living entity, tightening its grip, refusing to release its prey. Jenna's breath caught in her throat, heart pounding furiously. They were close. So close, but escaping felt like trying to escape a nightmare. She turned to look at Mia, her daughter's little face painted with confusion and fear. And then, with one final roar of resistance, she plunged forward into the archway just as the shadows converged. Was this the exit? Or a new trap? The world blurred around them, darkness swallowing everything but the echo of their fight. And then, there was a scream, their scream, trapped in the suffocating dark, as the void closed behind them. Mia was slipping, Jenna felt it. Her fingers tightened. But what awaited them on the other side? As they crashed through the threshold, Jenna's heart plummeted, fully bracing for whatever horror lay ahead. Light slapped against Jenna's eyes as they tumbled through the archway, and she felt as if they had been pulled from one nightmare into another. A sharp wind howled around them, carrying with it a stench of decay and remorse. Torn paper fluttered across the ground like frightened birds, and her heart thundered in response to the echoing whispers that had burrowed deep inside her mind. Mama? Mia's voice squeaked, fragile and barely above a whisper. Jenna instinctively tightened her grip. They landed on the ground with a jolt, tumbling onto a cracked asphalt surface that gritted against her skin. She quickly turned around, searching the darkness, the dread returning like a long-lost friend. Where are we? Mia asked, her small frame trembling as the shadows danced around them, gnashing unseen teeth. Jenna pushed herself up, fear spiking again. I don't know, honey. But we have to keep moving. They stumbled to their feet, a small grasp forming around Jenna's heart. Structures loomed in the distance, their outlines shrouded in an unnatural fog. Silhouettes stretched and twisted, their shapes ambiguous yet menacing, as if the buildings were watching, waiting for the right moment to spring to life. Mama? Mia looked around, her eyes wide, struggling to pull her gaze from the foreboding shapes. What if they get us? They won't, Jenna replied, trying to inject strength into her voice, though uncertainty gnawed at her. We're together. That's all that matters. As they picked their way through the debris, Jenna's breath quickened at the sound of skittering whispers that slithered through the silence. It felt less like they were walking on firm ground and more like the earth had been upturned, a fragile boundary between reality and another world altogether. Ahead, a flicker of orange caught Jenna's eye. A dim glow stretched towards the sky like a dying ember. Look! Jenna exclaimed, tugging Mia toward the light. There. We need to go there. They quickened their pace, desperation pushing them forward. Shadows flickered like candle flames, wrapping around Jenna as if they were fingers, tugging her back into their embrace. The chill shot through her body as she glanced over her shoulder, the lingering whispers morphing into mocking laughter. Mama! Mia gripped her hand tighter, fingers pale against Jenna's skin. I don't want to go back. Neither do I. She snapped back, full of an urgency that felt foreign now. But we have to fight it, Mia. It wants us to break. Finally, they reached the source of light, a weathered motel sign that swung precariously with a creaking sound. It stood eerily illuminated, casting a glow that felt almost alive. The letters were faded and flaking, reading vacancy in eerie blue, as if calling to them, inviting them in as new prey. "Mama, it looks scary," Mia whispered, clinging tighter. The air hung thick with the scent of mildew, forgotten such a long time ago. "No, wait." Jenna paused, feeling a sensation prickling down her spine. Something in her gut warned her. Something is wrong here. Before she could speak further, a low growl resonated from behind them. The shadows morphed, forming a shape that loomed ominously, a huddled figure, its face obscured. Panic surged alongside the realization that they had stumbled right back into danger. "Mama!" Mia screamed, shaking with terror. Jenna shoved her body in front of Mia, heart racing, bracing for the worst. "Stay behind me," she hissed, her mind racing through options. The darkness solidified into a twisted form, a grotesque parody of a human silhouette, beckoning with twisted features. It seemed to absorb every flicker of light, feeding on their fear. Jenna's voice faltered, eyes darting around for hope or escape. She backed away instinctually, but felt a solid weight behind her. The edge of the motel wall loomed threateningly, trapping them in a tight space, closing in. "Join us," the figure rasped, the voice oozing malice, echoing in the recesses of Jenna's mind. "You're already ours." With a final surge of human instinct, Jenna bolted towards the motel entrance, her breath catching with panic as she yanked Mia along. The shadows lunged forward, reaching out, grasping, desperate to claim what it had promised. As they burst through the door, Mia's tiny scream echoed, and Jenna felt it reverberate through her very bones. Inside, they were met with an empty reception area, the glow shining from a single flickering bulb above. Desperation clawed at them both, the air growing thick with the weight of unseen eyes. "What is this place?" Jenna gasped, spinning in confusion. Just then, a disembodied voice echoed from the shadows beyond, chilling Jenna to her core. "You've checked in, will you dare check out?" Jenna's heart raced. Was this truly what she feared the most? And then it struck her, the realization that this might not just be a place of refuge. It felt like a trap. But what trap awaited them further inside? With a trembling hand, she reached for the door handle, seconds before a sinister shadow dashed across her vision, deepening the uncertainty in her heart. What happens next could trap them forever, and in that moment, the darkness wasn't just hungry, it was alive. They were not done fighting yet. Jenna's heart raced as she turned to face the reception area, a wash of dread pooling in her stomach. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting into grotesque shapes that yawned wider with every second. "Mia, stay close," she breathed, panic tinging her voice, coaxing a tightening grip on her child's hand. They had escaped the torn darkness, but where were they now? The receptionist's desk loomed, vacant yet oppressive. Dust and despair hung thick in the air, the scent of mildew like an awful memory. "This place is wrong," she whispered, feeling the unease creeping back as the echo of the voice lingered around them. "We need to go." Suddenly, the laughter returned, rising from the depths of the shadows, wrapped around them like a sinister blanket. It clawed at Jenna's resolve, whispers intertwining with fear, vying for control. "You're already ours," the voice taunted, a dark promise that threatened to swallow her whole. "Mama, I don't like it here." Mia whimpered, pulling her mother closer. Jenna felt the weight of that fear, the fire of maternal instinct igniting within her veins. "We can't let them win," she shouted, though doubts began swirling within her. Together, they dashed toward the flickering bulb above, every step reverberating with the sound of lurking doom. The walls seemed to close in, shadows breathing down their necks as they fled deeper into the motel. The hallway stretched endlessly ahead, doors beckoning on either side. "Mama, what if it won't let us go?" Mia's voice wobbled, but Jenna tempered her fear. "It will let us go, we just have to be brave." Then bang! A door flung open, revealing a dark void within. An indistinct figure stepped through, wearing a grin that shouldn't exist. Jenna felt time stop. The shadows surged around them, growing restless, taunting like a childhood nightmare. "Mama, run!" Mia cried out, and instinct kicked in. Jenna grabbed her daughter's hand tightly and raced toward the exit sign, desperate for an end to the madness. Each footfall echoed like thunder, the walls shaking as the shadows writhed around them, reaching, clawing for the slip of light they desperately sought. They burst into another corridor, the air thick with despair, and a faint glimmer of sunlight peeked through broken windows at the end. "That way!" Jenna shouted, pulling Mia forward. But just then, the ground quaked, and the wall behind them erupted in laughter, sinister and mocking. "Join us, oh lost ones!" The shadows were relentless, swallowing up the hallway behind, pulling and tugging like a tide threatening to drag them under. "Mama!" Mia's eyes filled with tears, and Jenna felt an ache in her chest deepening. "Hold tight!" she yelled, clutching Mia's hand, squeezing the fear from her heart. They sped down the corridor, shadows hot on their heels. When they reached the end of the hall, Jenna gasped as they found themselves facing a colossal door, ancient and ominous, bordered by intricate carvings of twisted faces. "Is this the way out?" Jenna whispered, the fear pooling in her gut again. "We have to try," Mia urged. With trembling hands, Jenna pushed on the door, wood creaking as it opened slowly, bridging the light. What lay before them was an expansive, illuminated void with bright golden tones, flooding their senses with warmth. "Look, Mama!" Mia exclaimed, relief washing away some of the darkness that clung to them. But with each step, the laughter behind shattered like glass, whispering that they couldn't escape. "Mama, please don't let them take us." Mia tugged on her arm. Jenna's heart wrenched. "I want. I promise," she vowed, pulling her daughter close. As they stepped into the space, light enveloped them, warmth wrapping around their skin like an embrace. But the shadows lingered just outside, whispering echoes that dug deep into Jenna's head. "You can never truly escape." Something told her the exit was not merely a matter of physical distance but a battle against the very darkness consuming them. And then she remembered the sinister rules she had seen in the motel room. Fear was its fuel, and fear could also be its undoing. "Mia," Jenna breathed, as clarity ignited in her mind. "We need to stand together against this. Fear is what they want." "Mama, I don't understand." Mia's wide eyes drank in the light. "Listen to me, sweetheart. We're going to shout our fears away, together. They thrive on our fear, but we can take that power back." Jenna felt an unexpected strength surge through her, warmth pooling around her heart. "Okay." Mia nodded fiercely. Jenna took a deep breath and stood tall, ready for the confrontation. "Mama, I'm scared of the dark." Jenna bellowed, her voice echoing against the walls. The shadows danced closer, hissing, threatening. "I'm brave," Mia shouted, surprising both of them. With each fear shouted, the shadows recoiled, shimmering grotesquely as they lost their grip on the air around them. Jenna felt their hold weakening. "I'm afraid of losing you," she cried, and echoed Mia's brave declaration. "But I trust in us." The shadows shrieked, their laughter turning to rage, as the light brightened against the darkness, illuminating the path before them. "Give in!" A voice roared, curling around them like smoke, desperate to reclaim control. "Mama," Mia continued, emboldened. "I want to be free." "Me too," Jenna shouted, her voice ringing out strong and true. They would not let the darkness win. The shadows writhed violently, some reaching out, stretching into claws, wanting to reclaim their prey, but the light flared brighter, consuming every black tendril in its path. "Run!" Jenna shouted as the door ahead opened wider, light spilling like an endless tide, chasing away every echo of fear. Hand in hand, Jenna and Mia sprinted forward as the echoes of laughter shrieked one last time, falling back into the abyss. With one final leap, they crossed the threshold, bursting into blinding light that enveloped them entirely before the shadows dissolved into soft whispers, fading into nothing. Minutes later, laden with the weight of their experience, Jenna and Mia emerged into the warm daylight of a sunlit street surrounded by gentle trees and cheerful flowers. The laughter, the darkness, it was gone. "Mama, we did it!" Mia gasped, breathless. The warmth of the sun on her face chased the lingering terror away. "Yes, my brave girl. We made it." Jenna pulled her close, relief washing over her. Uncertain feelings began to fade, but scars of fear still lingered in both their hearts. "But what if they come back?" Mia asked after a pause, worry threading through her innocent voice. "They won T. We let them go. As long as we stand together, we can face anything," Jenna reassured, squeezing her daughter's hand, confident warmth filling her heart. Underneath the beautiful blue sky, Jenna breathed in deep, the richness of life surrounding them, vibrant and alive, echoing with hope and resilience. "Now, let us go home," she said softly, stepping toward their future, leaving the darkness behind them, finally ready to embrace whatever came next together. Now, listen up, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now, it truly helps feed the algorithm. Flood that comments section with your reactions and theories about the story's ending. And don't wait even one more second, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, we can continue this journey, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's to come.